Hey, everybody. And today we're going to be talking about how to draw a superhero's profile. Now, first off, what does a superhero look like? It could look like anybody. That person could look like a he, a her, a it, a creature, who knows? So what we're going to be talking about today is really how to use this method that I'm about to teach you to be able to draw just about any profile. Doesn't that sound exciting? Okay, let's go. So first thing is, what are the main components of a profile? First, we have a cranium, right? That's like the top part of the skull. And then we have the jaw, right? And then we have a neck. Let's give this person some hair, okay? And that come in all sorts of different ways. So this superhero is kind of like got the slick hair, very clean looking. And then the eyes, nose, mouth. And this is the important part, okay? This is today's lesson. So how I tackle the eyes, nose, mouth. Okay, so here we go. I call it the arrow technique. So there's one arrow, two arrows, and then three arrows. And that's it. All of a sudden, you have blueprints for generally a face. Now, some things to look out for. This right here does not represent the eye completely. I'm not thinking about this giant eye. I could, but really what this represents is the eye area, because a lot of times when we look at a person's eye, we actually notice the eye area before we notice the eye. Right? So that's why I'm putting in something to indicate the eye area as opposed to the eye. When we can put something in to represent, say like the eye area, it helps us to be able to kind of see where those eyes could be. Okay, let's take a look at some examples here. So if we rewind this sketch to the very beginning, we are starting with a cranium. Right? And then we bring in the jawline, the ear. All these things are quite simple. And then we start putting in some arrows for the different features. The mouth area, the eye area, and the nose area. And once those things are put in, as simple as they are, all of a sudden we can see a face. We can start to see that face. Add in some hair and the neck, and then we definitely see a face. From here, it's really about being more contrasting, right? So in those very initial marks, I generally paint pretty low contrast. So it's a bit blurry. It's kind of like drawing lightly with your pencil. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to just clean up the image a little bit, bring in the eyes, details, adjust the contrast, and we're done. And it all started off with these very, very simple 3 arrows for the face. Okay, so why don't we go on to another example here. You can see here, I've already started the sketch. You can see the indications of the cranium, or you can see a clear indication of a nice chiseled jaw. And then you can see the arrows, right? There's 1, there's 2, and there's 3. From there, it helps you to see the details. And then when you start to actually try to really go for it and paint in those wonderful details that we all love, they become far more accurate, right? Because they're based off of something nice and simple and less contrast. Now, those both were very realistic examples. So why don't we take a look at how far we can take this technique? Say a comic book kind of style, the classic kind of superhero-esque features here. You can already tell that these arrows are far less realistic. And if I was to really point them out, here's an arrow for the nose, for the mouth, and then one for the eye. You see how these arrows, they can change. You want to think about the arrows that best represent the kind of hero you want to create. Okay, you can have something that's very squinty. Maybe the person has a very squinty eye. You could have a character that has very kind of like hook-like nose, and then maybe that's your alteration to the arrow. You could have a mouth that's kind of like this, nice and round, kind of like Homer Simpson. So there's all sorts of different variables, all sorts of different possibilities that you can play around with this technique. But if you want to do something like this, then this is what I did. And then after that, I started to fill in the details. And all of a sudden, it's one of those kind of classic comic booky kind of style heroes. Okay, everybody. So hope you have a really great time with this tutorial. Try out this arrow technique. Let's create some superheroes for a really great cause.